Hi, my name is Melissa and I am the face of peace and prosperity. I'm a quilter, a hand quilter, and I learned how to quilt in the early 90s, back when primarily the only fabrics we had available were those at Joann's. Um, I still have a lot of quilts that are around. I know Joann's gets knocked a lot, but they're great fabrics, or they were back then. Um, I still use them now and then if I need, a blender fabric or something like that. But anyway, um, I learned how to sew when I was 5, and my cousin taught me how to make a doll pillow. And from there, it progressed to historic costuming, where I was a reenactor, and I developed a passion for history, historical activities, and how things used to be done. I grew up surrounded by Amish, and watching them using treadle machines and with their quilting bees, etc. It sparked a flame. And over the years, I would quilt. I worked in home care, long-term home care, and so for 8 to 12 hours, I would have nothing to do because I worked a lot of nights. I was young, and so I would hand piece my quilts and then hand quilt them. And working with the elderly, it was one way to connect with them and show them that the things from their childhood hadn't died. um, I now know that the quilts that I was drawn to at that time were the feed set quilts of the 30s and 40s. They're my favorite. They're so thin and vibrant. There's I can't quite quantify what it is about them that you know I'm drawn to. I just don't know. I don't have the words. However, I continued to quilt, um, for years, and then I got married, um, and took about a 10-year hiatus while we did life. As a married couple, we had a child. I became a truck driver in that time. Um, yeah, quite a difference in job careers. But anyway, I took a 10-year break, and once our daughter was in kindergarten, I had all this time home because I was a stay-at-home mom, and missed it. It was a vital part of me, and so I got back into quilting. I discovered a whole changed industry. There were fabric houses that hadn't been around 15 years earlier, 10, 15 years earlier. The tools and gadgets alone were mind-boggling. Just all of the new rulers and the pattern designers and the new threads and YouTube. YouTube alone has revolutionized quilting. And so anyway, yeah, it opened up a whole new world for me, as did Facebook. I met on Facebook many quilters. I just did a search for quilting, and I ended up starting several groups of my own. I was involved in dozens of fabric swaps, block swaps, and to this day, some of us are Facebook friends. I have met many of them in real life and absolutely adore them. Um, Two of my closest Facebook friends that I'd met ended up passing away from cancer in 2018 and left a big hole in my heart. Um, but anyway, uh, and then, just life got busy. I kept sewing, I kept quilting. I have lots of tops. As I said, I don't machine quilt. I haven't quite gotten the grasp of it. I don't have the patience right now to sit and practice. But in July of 2018, my husband was diagnosed with testicular cancer. The first 2 months were rough. It had metastasized and spread and was invasive enough that he had a pretty rigorous chemo regimen. He was, after his initial diagnosis, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Chemo would last for a week at a time, 5 days in a row. And then all of the doctor's appointments and just all of the running. My poor car back and forth into San Antonio was just tired. By mid-September, life had slowed down a little bit. We were still going, he was still going through chemo. I would sit there in the chemo center, and I've got a grandmother's flower garden hexie quilt that I'm working on. I would sit and work on that. Very depressing. And by mid-September, like I said, life had slowed down, and I gave myself permission to just sew anything and everything I wanted to. I didn't have to finish anything. There was no responsibility and no guilt. And I sewed, and I sewed, and I sewed, mindless sewing for weeks. And I think I began somewhere between 8 and 10 projects and cut out a few more in that time. I sewed strips together. I sewed 9 patches. I sewed snowballed strips. Thank God for Jenny Doan and her tutorials with pre-cuts, because I started a lot of them. I learned how to make the 4-in-1 flying geese. Angles had intimidated me for years, and so I always did squares. I've got lots of 9 patches and such, and quilts that I had made. And anyway, I learned how to make easy flying geese. You can make 4 of them in less than 10 minutes. I now have a container full of reproduction, Civil War reproduction flying geese that are just waiting for my pattern to emerge to figure out what I'm going to do with them. I worked on the Missouri Star Christmas tree quilt. That one is, again, it's unfinished. I have lots of UFOs. And then I discovered Bonnie Hunter and her mystery quilts. And I decided last year that I was going to, right, by last year I mean 2018, I was going to participate in the Good Fortune mystery quilt. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It isn't finished. I got through all of the steps until the chevrons, and those kicked me in the rear. It took me a while. I have since figured them out. They are done. My blocks are completely assembled. I just need to get my blocks made into a quilt, or into a top, and get the borders on. Fantastic, absolutely wonderful experience. Highly recommend Bonnie Hunter's Mystery every year. And then I had an opportunity to meet her in February at the San Antonio Quilt Show. Absolutely wonderful woman. She had recently lost a brother to cancer and understood where I was coming from. I need to back up. My husband had a relapse in January and had to go through a second round of chemo. And he was actually in the hospital during the San Antonio show. But I was helping out a quilt shop at their booth, and that's when I got to meet her. And then I went on up to the hospital and saw Seth. But so I knew when she did her Fralick Mystery this coming November, or this last November, that I was going to participate, hands down, wholeheartedly. Bonnie is a phenomenal teacher. Her instructions will walk you through every step. And now half square triangles, chevrons, flying geese. They don't bother me anymore. They don't intimidate me. I pushed through the fear. I walked through her steps, and in fact, I have most of my Fralick blocks done. This is one of, there's supposed to be a lot of them. I've got 20 of them done, and I am absolutely over the moon thrilled. This one's not trimmed, so it's not square, but I'm thrilled and over the moon with how they're turning out. And anyway, so sewing got me through the last year and a half. In June, my husband was supposed to be going for a stem cell transplant. We met with that doctor and left his office 10 minutes later. Sent him right across the street to the hospital. And 12 days later, Seth was sent home with hospice. In July, Seth passed away. My heart was broken and I couldn't sew. The grief was overwhelming, and I still had a child to take care of. We took a 2.5 week road trip, visited quilt shops across the country, but I was devastated. And then school was beginning, so I had to get our daughter prepared for school, get her back and forth. I was still working. And again, by September, things had slowed down enough that I started sewing again. I managed to finish a pineapple quilt using the Creative Grids pineapple triangle tool. Highly recommend that thing. I may do a tutorial on that one of these days. I will use it again. It was so fast and so quick and just so easy that in no time and that was one of the quilts I had started last fall, and then I finished it this fall. It just didn't take any time at all. It's quilted. It just needs the binding. I will try to have that done for my next video. But anyway, I finished that one, and then by mid-October, I still hadn't heard from Social Security on my widow's benefits. They were still messing around with our daughter's Social Security, between her survivor benefits and my job. I was not able to support us financially. San Antonio is a very expensive area. The boom right now, rents are outrageous. Shacks are going for $800. Literally, shacks in the barrio are going for $800 a month. Homes in safe neighborhoods are $1,500 to $2,100 a month. Just insanely expensive. And so I made the decision to come to Michigan for the winter, to stay with my parents, to try and figure out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to progress. One thing Seth really wanted me to do was, he finally began to understand my passion for quilting and wanted me to pursue something in the quilting industry. So part of the reason to move to Michigan was to have family help to care for our daughter and to allow me the time and no distractions to be able to build my quilting business. My intent is to have this YouTube channel where I will be bringing you industry news, showing you products, the up and coming products, fabric lines that are coming out, um, you know, to introduce you to quilt designers that you may have never heard of, or to give you a little more history on and pique your interest on those who have been around but maybe you haven't heard of. You know, to show you the new products that are coming out. Um, you know, and I'm going to be having a podcast. We'll be launching a podcast hopefully the beginning of April. I am um, working on all of the equipment. There's a huge learning curve just so that I can produce quality content right out of the gate. But a couple of things that I want to show you that I have found here in Michigan, um, projects that just caught my eye and that I really, really got excited about and that I want to use. The first one is this bag pattern. I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't know if that's backwards. It looks backwards in my screen. Anyway, it is the Myrna Enlarged Zippy Crossbody Bag pattern by Sally Tomato. And the fabrics that they had used were just absolutely adorable. They caught my eye. I'd already grabbed a couple of fat quarters because I was going to use them as neutrals in my Fralick quilt. And so I went ahead and grabbed that pattern. And then these are the fabrics that were used in the sample. I don't know if you can see those or not. My French is deplorable, but it is, I love those poppies. La Pavot by Sandy Gervais from Moda. And naturally I'm drawn to it because I love Sandy Gervais designs. And the zippers that are used are sold by the inch, and they come with multiple, there are no stops. I don't know if you can see the ends on that or not, but there aren't any stops on them. They're just the zipper pulls. It's kind of annoying to cut them, but once you've got it, it's not a problem. But anyway, this one calls for 3 zippers, 2 12-inch, and I think it's either an 8 or a 9-inch. And what I loved was, what really caught my eye, was the hardware in this rose gold. I don't know if you can see that. There's the snap and the clasps and the oh, I'm blanking on what they're called. But anyway, the slides. And in that rose gold. And that bag was just absolutely adorable. So I'm hoping to get to that. I purchased this at Quilt and Go in East Leroy, Michigan. It's just outside of Battle Creek. And then the other thing that I got, I've been looking for a block of the month that really piqued my interest. I would like to do the Amish with a Twist 4, but can't find a shop locally that has it. If y'all know of one, please comment, let me know where it is so I can contact that shop. I really, really want to do one. But what I did find over in Hillsdale at Trevathan's, I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, they're doing this little table topper block of the month. You can also, as you can see, you can make it as this little flag here. I'll have to see if I can find the holders for them, but it's called January Blizzard Buddies, designed by Kelly Mueller of the Wooden Bear, and it's only like $16 a month, which really appealed to me as a widow on a limited income. The price point really caught my eye. So anyway, I'm hoping to get this one done this week. And that's pretty much all the news I have for you. Like I said, this is my maiden video, and I just wanted to talk to you and let you know who I am, what I'm about, what my plans are. Just want to show you what there is here in the quilting world. As you can see, there's nothing on the walls behind me. I've finally got my sewing room set up. It took me another one of the reasons that I'm here helping or living with my folks is that I'm helping them update their house so that they can get it sold. It's a 2-story home, the home where I grew up, and they're of an age where they can no longer maintain it. So we're trying to update everything and help them sell their home. So anyway, as you can see, the walls are very pale, light blue-green. The color is from Home Depot, and it's called Mountain Dew. Not green like that nasty pop that everybody drinks. But anyway, once I have everything rearranged and set up, I will do a sewing room video and show you everything that I've got. And that's where we're at for the moment. Y'all have a good week, and we'll see you next week.